Channel. We are in our guide 10 chapter 69. We are in our GI physiology. So we're going to start the functions of liver. So as usual we'll start with the glossary terms and next we'll continue our discussion. So first we need to understand what is bilirubin. So bilirubin is a pigment that is mainly formed from the heme ring of hemoglobin on destruction of RBC. So whenever the RBC get old, they get destroyed. So because of that destruction, first the cell membrane of the RBC destroys, and next if the cell membrane is destroyed inside the RBC, of course we know it is hemoglobin. So that hemoglobin will also get degraded by macrophages. So all that process we'll discuss. So because of all that, as the hemoglobin is getting degraded, it is converting into bilirubin. The clear process we'll discuss. And next coming to gluconeogenesis. Actually, why we are discussing these points? Because liver is a very important organ where all these kinds of functions are going on. So we need to understand first these terms so that you will get a nice idea of a topic. So gluconeogenesis is a process of formation of glucose by liver. So our liver can form glucose mainly from non-carbohydrate source such as amino acids or glycerol portion of fats. So about this all process we'll see in very much detail in our biochemistry. Before that, just to know this, so gluconeogenesis is nothing but neo means new. The new glucose genesis means birth. So the new glucose is coming from the liver, but not from the direct carbohydrate source. It is coming from non-carbohydrate source like our amino acids or glycerol portion of fats. Now let us see what is jaundice. So jaundice, we know it's an yellowish discoloration of skin, deeper tissues, everything gets yellow color, and we'll discuss about that lightly, not more here. We'll discuss jaundice and pathology in detail. And next coming to Kupffer cells. So Kupffer cells are the liver macrophages that line the sinusoids. Liver have many sinusoids and they are capable of phagocytosing the bacteria and other foreign matter. So mainly Kupffer cells are the macrophages which are used to take away the all unwanted and bacteria like that. So next coming to liver lobule. So it's a basic functional unit of the liver. Liver lobule, we have it in like this shape. These are hepatocytes. Liver lobules also look bigger like this. In that we have the cords of hepatocytes. So those all we already studied in our anatomy. We'll study all those. So now we'll start our main topic of physiology here, the functions of liver. So actually different functions liver have, like filtration and storage of blood. Liver filters the blood and also it stores the blood, and metabolism of many other food we eat. Almost the food we eat gets metabolized in a liver, like carbohydrates, proteins, fats, hormones, foreign chemicals here, drugs. So biotransformation takes place in the liver. And formation of bile, of course, it's a very important function and it also have very important role. And next, storage of many vitamins and iron, formation of coagulation. Almost like all coagulation factors are formed from our liver. So liver is the largest organ in the body, like about 2% of total body weight. It is 1.5, just okay, it's normal general. And the basic functional unit in a liver is a liver lobule. So liver lobule is actually a cylindrical structure and contains like about 50,000 to 1 lakh individual lobules. So a liver have a central vein. We can see this by this diagram. So actually how the blood flow from the liver is, first from the central vein it enters into the hepatic veins. You can see these are the hepatic veins, and from the hepatic veins it enters into the vena cava, the major vena cava. So like this the blood enters from first central vein, hepatic vein, vena cava. So that is a course and flow of blood in a liver. And the lobule have many cellular plates. It is 2 cell, yeah, you can see this is a liver lobule. Here you can check out this 2 cell thick, this is called as liver cell plate. And this liver cell plate is a basic function, yeah. It has 2 cell thick, and between these cells you can see the bile caniculi which empty into the bile duct. So here we can see this is a bile caniculi which is emptying into the bile duct. This is a bile duct. So this green color represents the bile caniculi which empties into the bile duct. Here actually the blood comes from the portal venules to portal vein. So after portal vein, of course, we have already discussed the course of portal vein in our splanchnic circulation chapter very clearly. So you can check out that if you want to remember it again. So the flow of blood is like from portal venules to portal vein and finally to hepatic sinusoids which are present between the plates. So you can see these are the liver cell plates. So between them we have some liver sinusoids. So you can see these are the sinusoids which are like endothelial linings here this vein, hepatic vein. So in between them you can see these are the sinusoids and which are like and after that we have the central vein. So this is the flow of like venules, portal venules to portal vein to hepatic sinusoids and to the central vein. So hepatic cells are always exposed to the portal blood, of course. So as hepatic cells is always with this portal circulation, so almost every cell of hepatic that is our liver gets always in contact with this portal blood. So now we'll see here the hepatic arterioles. Here only there. So this red color is, you can see this hepatic arterioles are present in interlobular septa and even this empty into sinusoids. So you can see they are also emptying into the sinusoids. So veins and even this hepatic arterioles both empty into the sinusoids itself. So from here we'll come to the topic. Venous sinusoids are mainly lined by typical endothelial cells and large Kupffer cells. So why the large Kupffer cells? They're like macrophage function, right? They're also called as reticuloendothelial cells. They eat up any bacteria like that. And resident macrophages which line the sinusoids and capable of phagocytosing the bacteria and others which are present in a hepatic sinus blood, so that we can clear out all the bacteria which is present in a liver blood. So the endothelial lining of sinusoids have large pores, hence the name sinusoids, right? If they're having large pores, so easily there will be transport of substances. So large pores beneath them we have between the endothelial lining and hepatic cells. So here one more structure we need to see. So between the hepatic endothelial lining, so you can see this is endothelial lining. Between the endothelium lining and hepatic cells we have a space of Deci. This is called the space of Deci. So this one, so these are the hepatic cells, this is an endothelial or sinusoidal lining. So between them we have this space, this is called as space of Deci. So actually this space of Deci is also called as perisinusoidal spaces. So million of spaces of Deci connect with lymphatic vessels in interlobular septa. So therefore excess fluid is removed by the lymphatics as large pores, even plasma can pass by the space of Deci. So actually the problem here is, as we see in that space, it's very big, so that and also the endothelial lining in liver is sinusoid, so even the plasma proteins, everything can enter into the space of Deci. So if there is lot of fluid, it may lead to again edema. So to prevent that, we have many lymphatics which are draining away this fluid into the veins. So liver is actually an expandable organ. The large quantities of blood can be stored in its blood vessels. As it's expandable, it can store lot of blood. So its normal blood volume in both veins and sinuses is like about 450 milliliter, or like just 10% of body's total blood volume. So whenever the right heart fails, congestive heart failure, 0.5 to 1 liter of extra blood is stored in hepatic veins and even sinuses with peripheral congestion. Whenever there is peripheral congestion, due to right heart fails, means blood backup. So because of this blood backup, it leads to edema, ascites in our liver and also in our spleen, splenomegaly, hepatomegaly. So at that time you can see like about 0.5 to 1 liter of extra blood is stored in the hepatic veins itself. And blood flow in intestine collect all bacteria, and also blood flow in portal vein before entering the liver is full of colon bacilli. But in systemic circulation it's extremely rare. Why? Because in portal vein, as we know, the portal vein first from the intestine it brings all the blood to the liver. So after entering the liver, it enters into systemic circulation. So before entering systemic circulation, all the blood is cleared by the our Kupffer cells, macrophages, so that the pure blood only almost goes to the systemic circulation. So in hepatic venous sinuses, the Kupffer cells cleanse the blood as it passes sinuses. So less than 1% of bacteria entering the portal blood from the intestine succeed in passing from the liver to systemic circulation. So you can see very low chance, just like about 1% of bacteria may only enter, but in systemic circulation you cannot find the bacteria, only because our specialty of our liver function, especially our Kupffer cells. Well, okay, this is all the general topic. Now let us see the main metabolic functions of the liver. So of course liver is large chemically reactant pool of cells. So many chemically reactant cells are present. They have high rate of metabolism. These cells share substrates and energy from one metabolic system to another. So they also have sharing nature here. They share this metabolic system, energy and substrates, and synthesis many substances which are transported to other areas of body and also perform different metabolic functions. So let us find out what are those different metabolic functions. Thus we see in biochemistry here. Let us see in just brief. So carbohydrate metabolism, it's mainly for storage of glycogen. Here galactose is converted into fructose and later into glucose, and gluconeogenesis, formation of chemical compounds from intermediate products of carbohydrate metabolism. And liver also maintains the normal blood glucose concentration, and it also has glucose buffer function. Glucose buffer function means liver stores the glucose in the form of glycogen, and whenever our cell needs glucose, when our body doesn't have any stores, then liver try to release them. So that is called as buffer function. So even liver can act as a glucose buffer function. So this is all about carbohydrate metabolism in brief in liver. Now let us see how fat metabolism takes place. So most cells of the body can, they have the capacity to metabolize the fats. The oxidation of fatty acids to supply energy is done by liver, and synthesis of large quantities of cholesterol, phospholipids, most of the lipoproteins, and even synthesis of fat from proteins and carbohydrates for the delivery of for deriving energy. A fat is converted into glycerol and fatty acids, and these fatty acids in turn undergo beta oxidation process to form two carbon acetyl radicals. So this beta oxidation mainly occurs rapidly in hepatic cells when compared with all other cells of the body. So these two carbon acetyl radicals are further divided into acetyl CoA. This acetyl CoA may either enter the citric acid cycle and undergo oxidization to form energy. So this is how the energy is formed from the fat. First it is converted into glycerol fatty acids, it undergo beta oxidation, it form two acetyl carbon radicals, next convert into acetyl CoA, next into citric acid cycle, get oxidized, form energy. So this is about fat metabolism in brief. Next coming to protein metabolism. So actually the body can't compensate if there is no protein, especially if there is no protein metabolism going in liver. Very extremely important function of liver is protein metabolism. Protein without liver more than few days or may lead to death. So if the liver is not metabolizing protein, the person may live not more than few days or also sometime leading to death. So very important metabolism in liver is protein metabolism. What it does, what is the main steps? It may do deamination of amino acids, formation of urea from removal of ammonium from body fluids, formation of plasma proteins, interconversion of various amino acids, synthesis of other compounds from amino acids. So liver plays very important role in protein metabolism. Next coming to liver is storage site for vitamins. Mainly vitamin A storage is very much important in liver. Of course vitamin D, vitamin B12, but major one is vitamin A. So among all different vitamins, vitamin D and B12 are also having a higher storage in our liver. Next, liver stores ferrum in the form of ferritin. So except iron of hemoglobin, of course in hemoglobin it will be in the iron form only. Almost all forms of our body mainly store iron in the form of ferritin, not directly as iron except in hemoglobin. So ferritin form is mostly accepted in our body. So ferritin system of liver also act as blood iron buffer and also iron storage medium. So liver forms many coagulation substances like fibrinogen, prothrombin, accelerator globulin, factors like 7, 9, 10. In absence of vitamin K, concentration of all these substances decrease and prevent coagulation. We know all that already. In the presence of vitamin K only, these factors are very much active and it can further progress into coagulation. So if no vitamin K, this all may even though they are present, it's not so important in coagulation. So liver also removes or excrete drugs, hormones and others. So that's like detoxification function. So detoxify and excrete into bile like drugs like sulfonamide, penicillin, ampicillin, erythromycin, and even hormones of endocrine are chemically altered or excreted by liver, including, so remember, thyroxine, steroid hormones like estrogen, cortisol, aldosterone, all these are excreted by liver in the form of bile. And liver damage, what happens? It may lead to accumulation of these hormones in the body fluids and may cause an overactivity of hormones. So sometimes whenever if a person have any liver abnormalities, then these kind of hormones they'll not get excreted, especially thyroxine, estrogen, cortisol, also. So all this will get accumulated and it may lead to some overactivity of hormones and it may disturb the hormone imbalance. So major route for excreting calcium is liver in the form of bile, which pass by the gut and which is lost in the feces. Bile, if it is wanted to get excreted, it may pass into the gut and next into the fecal matter. So this is how calcium, a major amount of calcium in our body is excreted by means of bile. So now